Hi everyone, welcome to Difference Frames the World, a channel to see the world differently. Please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification so you will not miss our videos uploaded every week. Today we discuss the situation across the Taiwan Strait and compare it with the Ukraine conflict. The new Taiwan leader will be sworn into office in 10 days, and many anticipate a tense moment for Taiwan, which we have a different view. The new leader might be more aggressive than his predecessor, but he cannot take a further step toward Taiwan's independence, as it is against America's strategy. Taiwan is merely America's card to stop China's rise, so it cannot decide anything without America's approval, which we have discussed multiple times in previous videos. It will not become another Ukraine, either. Ukraine is an internationally recognized independent country, while most countries regard Taiwan as a part of China. If war breaks out between Beijing and Taipei, it is a civil war, not one country invading another. Merely an island close to China's mainland, Taiwan is too far away from the United States and its allies, and it is not easy for them to support Taiwan as they help Ukraine. Ukraine is 20 times larger than Taiwan and borders some European countries, which can deliver weapons and ammunition by land. For example, Poland has been deeply involved in supporting Ukraine for whatever reasons they deem right for the interest of its country, not the Ukrainian people. Poland has a hidden agenda. Most people know it wants to recover the land merged with the former Soviet Union after the Second World War, today's western part of Ukraine. Poland wants to make its presence in Ukraine not only to fight the Russians but also to grab something it craves. Immediately after French President Macron expressed the possibility of sending troops to Ukraine, most of the NATO member states disagreed. However, Poland stood firmly behind the decision. Poland is more enthusiastic about sending troops to Ukraine than any other Western country. Poland had pledged its full support to Ukraine before the Ukraine conflict broke out. It has since sought to send troops directly to assist Ukraine, but neither Kyiv nor NATO approved it. After the fall of Avdiivka in February 2024, Poland began to publicize the Russian threat heavily, and both its prime minister and defense minister publicly stated that Europe had entered an age of war. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, there are about 14,000 foreign mercenaries in Ukraine, the largest number of which is from Poland, close to 3,000. About 1,500 Polish mercenaries have already been killed in action. Today, Russia has more lethal weapons than Germany in the Second World War, which conquered Poland in days. It is not wise for Polish politicians to confront Moscow, although Poland is a NATO member state. We mentioned in previous videos that NATO's collective defense policy might not cover a member state which sends soldiers to Ukraine to fight Russians. Poland will be doomed if it dares to deploy its troops officially in Ukraine. The hostility between Poland and Russia has existed for hundreds of years. According to Russian historians' research, Poland killed around 80,000 Soviet captives in 1920. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. 2 weeks later, on September 17, the Soviet Union sent troops to Poland. About 250,000 Polish military, police, and officials stationed in the eastern part of Poland were captured. Stalin instructed the Soviet Ministry of Internal Affairs to identify and execute 15,000 Polish officers. In April 1990, when the Polish president visited the Soviet Union, Gorbachev handed over the relevant information to the Polish leadership, and the half-century-old lie was exposed that it was not Nazi Germany but the former Soviets who killed those officers. The hatred between Poland and Russia is comparable to that between China and Japan. While Poland still hides its ambition to take back its land from Ukraine, Japan blatantly expressed its stance on Taiwan, which it had ruled for 50 years between 1895 and 1945. Japan's former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, grandson of a war criminal, visited Taiwan in December 2021 and delivered a speech on Taiwan-Japan relations. He declared that Japan cannot allow Taiwan to be invaded by force, claiming that Taiwan's troubles are also Japan's problems, threatening the alliance between Japan and the United States. Although he was not the Japanese prime minister when he delivered the speech in Taiwan, his political influence was not unnoticeable. To some extent, he represented the Japanese government's stance on Taiwan's so-called national security. It is noteworthy that he was murdered in July 2022. half a year after he visited Taiwan, making him unable to visit Taiwan again that month. Not only does Japan have concerns over Taiwan's safety, but the Taiwan authorities also want to use Japan as a leverage. Taiwan's elected leader, Lai Ching-te, said he is looking forward to the cooperation between Taiwan and Japan after he formally becomes the island's leader on May 20, 2024. The Democratic Progressive Party authorities are rehashing such arguments again, showing the world that Taiwan independence and interference by external forces are the most destructive factors for peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits. The newly elected Taiwan leader's remarks came out on May 8, 2024, which was his way of paying homage to the United States and Japan. Will the US or Japan fight for Taiwan's independence? No one should expect the United States to fight for Taiwan. The best it can do for the DPP authorities is to provide weapons and ammunition to strengthen Taiwan's self-defense. However, Washington might force Japan to interfere with Taiwan's affairs, initiating a proxy war with China. Japanese warmongers, on the other hand, might take advantage of the potential Taiwan crisis to expedite its military expansion. Japan's hawks might daydream it can drag the United States and China into a confrontation so they can colonize Taiwan again. Even though today's China is a world power militarily and economically, with its GDP 3 to 4 times Japan's, Japan still wants to take the lead in Asia, which can hardly come true. China is the most industrialized country in the world, and its manufacturing capability is more extensive than the sum of America, Japan, Germany, and other Western nations. As mentioned in other videos, China's shipbuilding industry makes half the world's civilian and military ships. When the Chinese have to defend their sovereignty, no foreign forces will be more sustainable than the Chinese army. A handful of Japanese warmongers may want to interfere with the Taiwan issue when war breaks out, but 1.5 billion Chinese worldwide are waiting anxiously for such an opportunity of payback. The Japanese pirates had devastated China's coastal areas for centuries. In the past 100 years, Japanese invaders tortured hundreds of millions of Chinese people on half of China's land and caused tens of millions of deaths. The Chinese hate Japanese aggressors more deeply than the Polish and Russians hate each other. China is also wary about Japan reviving its military, as they know Japan will never give up its hostility against China. An island country ridden with earthquakes, Japan has been trying to secure a safer place for its people. In the past 1,000 years, the Japanese militarists have employed all means to loot China and conquer Korea, aiming at becoming a land country away from the ocean waves. After its unconditional surrender to the Allies in 1945, Japan has been prohibited from owning its army, and it has become a vassal state of the United States. However, Japan's conventional military strength is among the top 5 worldwide, more potent than Britain, France, and Germany. It is waiting for an opportunity or an excuse to normalize its country militarily. Japan's warmongers will be super active in instigating a war across the Taiwan Strait, hoping China and the United States could have an all-out confrontation. America's politicians, although overly aged, are not stupid. They will never let Japan benefit from the unrest in the Taiwan Strait. Instead, they will sacrifice the Japanese as cannon fodder if necessary. Like Poland, Japan has been spreading the so-called China threat to justify its concerns about the Taiwan issue, as some Japanese politicians still think Taiwan is part of Japan, and they should take it back. Suppose China and the US had a war and weakened each other. In that case, Japan could recover Taiwan Island and become the leader of East Asia again. There is a widespread viewpoint in the West misleading people to believe that the US saved China 80 years ago. From the bottom of Japanese warmongers' hearts, they believed it was the Allies that defeated Japan in the Second World War, and they did not think Japan lost the war between Japan and China in 1945, so they did not fear the Chinese military like the United States. If there is an opportunity for them to invade China again, they will be as heinous as in the 1930s and will not hesitate. The Chinese Nationalist Party led by Chiang Kai-shek fought with the Japanese invaders and scored several major victories in 1938 and after. Millions of Chinese soldiers died for their country and people. Saying the US saved China from the evil hands of Japanese aggressors is an insult to countless Chinese heroes. Japan was the first industrialized nation in Asia, and its weapons were several generations more advanced than the Chinese Nationalist Party's army. Chinese soldiers were inadequately trained and poorly equipped with backward Hangyang rifles. Many did not even have quilted clothes and shoes in winter. Still, they stopped Japanese invaders from occupying most of China's land. Today's China has not only more lethal weaponry than Japan does, particularly the most formidable rocket force worldwide, but its soldiers are also adequately trained and well equipped with advanced weapons. Moreover, the Chinese army is one of the world's very few that earn the high respect of its people. If the Japanese dare to interfere with Taiwan's affairs, which is least likely, they will face the anger of 1.5 billion Chinese who are eager to take revenge. The guy who said Taiwan's troubles are also Japan's problems already died almost 2 years ago, but his blatant words are still being echoed again and again. It is not a big deal whether the Japanese will defend Taiwan Island as the new Taiwan leader daydreams. China has prepared itself well for all the surprises.